Good morning, everybody. All right, let's take a look at the market this morning. So, yesterday we had something really interesting happen. We had this sideways movement going on, and we drew out this little pattern here, right? This little reversal pattern. Let me open up the 15-minute chart and just show you what we were looking at. You have this supply zone. This is a 15-minute supply zone. Price pulled back to the demand and just kind of went sideways here, right? We were bouncing back and forth. Look at what we drew here. We said if this breaks to the upside, hits the supply zone, and then pulls back to our opening range, it will make another move up. And we kind of drew that pattern out. This is your typical reversal pattern here, where you could either take the retest of the opening range, or you could get in right there as you break above that pivot candle. Okay, so those are the two entry types. And what happened here is pulled into our supply zone. We were right about that. Pulled back into our opening range. We were right about that. Made a move back up and just hit the supply zone again and then completely collapsed. Okay, so you're always partially correct the majority of the time, right? The majority of the time, you'll notice you'll always be partially correct once you start to get a real handle on price action and how to use the entire TrendCloud system. So that is where we are at right now. Let me go into the Facebook group and just post this link really quick. Bear with me, guys. Jump over here, put that in there so everybody can join me in the live room. There we go. Okay, so that's what happened there. That's what went on. And now the next day, so let's erase this. So today, what do we do? Well, we're just going to read the price action again. We're going to figure out what the next move is. Now, we are going to erase this demand zone because that is gone. That got blown out. And here we are now. So now we're in between this supply zone and this demand zone. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll raise this up a bit so that we could separate the two. The top supply zone here is drawn out on the daily chart. This supply zone is drawn out on the 1-hour chart, and it's still holding. Okay, so that is still holding. This is a demand zone drop base rally, little gap up, right? So we might be heading for a gap fill. That means price action comes back down, fills the gap from where it originated, and then continues the move up, right? So we're actually right at the top of the demand zone that we drew out yesterday. So we're in between these two areas here. All right, and it's very possible we could just sort of continue to bounce along back and forth like this. Here's what makes this so difficult to trade. This is what makes everything so difficult to trade. We're in a sideways movement here. Okay, and when you're in a sideways movement, by the time price gets down to your demand zone, you've got momentum and trend pointing down. All of our components are met to the downside to take a short. But because you're inside of a demand zone, if this is strong and this holds, you're going to see some reversal. It's going to throw a monkey wrench into your momentum-based strategy. Okay, so that's the big dilemma here today. Will momentum and trend continue to work together to make a move further to the downside? Or is this demand zone going to hold and we're going to get an upward move back to supply? Okay, so we don't know yet, right? We don't know. So what do we do? Well, we have to watch very closely to look for those bonus signals, right? We need to see those bonus signals like, look, all of our components are met. Downtrend on the 3-hour, right? Very strong momentum to the downside, below -100, cycling down. Okay, the context of the 3-hour time frame is a downward move. 1-hour chart, downtrend, below -100, very strong, right? The momentum and trend are working together across multiple time frames here. So, this to me is saying, hey, we're going to go further to the downside. We just don't know when or if this demand zone is even going to hold. Here is the very first ADR checkpoint. Okay, that's definitely going to be a target. The opening range has started. If we, it's 9:30. If we see that we get, let's just open up the 15-minute chart because we know everything is working to the downside. Everything's working to the downside. So in this particular case, we're looking for a bearish candle to form, right? That's the bonus signal, those observations, right? The 15-minute candle should be a bearish candle. And then the 5-minute candle should close outside of the opening range, okay? And the target's going to be that first ADR checkpoint. It's very possible that you get this, candle formation, and then it breaks out to the downside on the 5-minute, and then you're just going from like here to here, right? So either way, for me, it's going to be a really short target, and we have to wait for the actual opening range to form and really utilize the strategy here because we're inside of a high time frame demand zone, right? We're inside of that high time frame demand zone. Let's see if we could go out to, let's go out to like the 45-minute or the half hour. Let's do the half hour chart. Let's see if we can find, let's see it. See, there it is right there. That is what I was looking at, guys. That's what I was looking at right there. This gap, right? So maybe we could draw it. Maybe we can draw it like this. There's the gap fill. This whole thing here, from here to here, right? From here to here is like one candle. Right, that's like showing one candle because there was a gap up. So, if we really want to tighten this up, I still think that's a good way. You can't get too crazy with this thing. You can't get too crazy, but look, we could do it like that. All right, I don't know. You'll never know. You'll never know if it'll come right down to the bottom of this body of this candle and reverse. We don't know. So we're just going to box this out. We'll give it a little bit more room, and we're going to watch this form. So, does it come down right to here and then reverse? We're not going to know. So the best way to go about this for me and for what I'm seeing would be to wait for that 15-minute candle to form. That will give us the opening range, and it's super close, right? It's pretty close. Hey, maybe we get a really strong move and it hits the second ADR checkpoint, right? And we just follow it down with a tight stop for as far as it's going to go. That would be awesome. Okay, but right here, we know that the bottom part of this demand zone is, the market edge. Right? That is the market edge. Eddie, Matt, what's going on, guys? All right, let's try to figure this out together here. Hope you guys are doing well in your accounts and that things are going well. I'm excited about getting into Top Step next month, recording that entire journey, what it's like to join a prop trading firm, pass the combine, and get funded. All right, see this candle right here? This is a pretty bullish candle, this one right here. If we break through that candle, let's make it nice and big. Take a good look at this right there. This candle right here. That's the pivot candle. That is the information that we have. See this one? It looks kind of similar, the one above it. Right here, and it broke through on that second candle, broke through that right there, and continued the downward move. So we want to see that. We want to see some sort of break below, close below this candle right here, or continued move down. Momentum and trend working with us, right? That's what we want to see. We want to see. This is really like the perfect storm here. Look at this. The 3-hour chart is in a downtrend, and it's at the very beginning of a downtrend. CCI below -100, cycling down. Okay, let me open that chart up because I think my picture is in front of all of that. There we go. Downtrend 3-hour, CCI below the -100 line. That's this red line right here. And we're cycling down, right? That means we're in an impulse phase, right? Impulse down, correction into trend cloud. Impulse down, correction into trend cloud. In an uptrend, right, looks like this. Impulse up, correction into trend cloud. Impulse up, correction into trend cloud, and so on, right? Until it completely fails. So the context of the 3-hour chart, it's all down, right? It's all downhill. Momentum and trend working together. That's what you want. 1-hour chart is our trending time frame. Okay, the 1-hour chart is our trending time frame. And what do we see? A downtrend, right? And we're early. We're early in this trend here. Downtrend, CCI below negative 100, right? So momentum and trend working together. The only problem is that we're entering this demand zone, right? And this was a demand zone that really made a huge move out, right? Gap up, price broke above the previous high, closed above previous high, continued to move all the way up to here. And we have that drawn out, right? So momentum and trend working with each other on both the 3-hour and 1-hour chart. Here we go. We broke below that candle there. Let's go to the 5-minute chart and see if we have, we'll go to the 5-minute chart right here. Let's open this up. Okay, so we've broken through the 5-minute opening range. Let me make sure I have both of those on there. I really like having the option for the 5-minute and 15-minute opening range. I really like having that option. And, and there we go. So this might be a really nice entry point. Look, if we're going to take a chance on this thing, we might want to switch over to the micro NASDAQ, just because this is inside of a demand zone here. And we don't know what's going to happen. We could make that the entry point. This candle does have to close. We got 2 more seconds. It closed kind of right there. How much is that going to cost us? Sell one. Yep, that's $1,000 move right there. $1,000 move right there, right? Now that is less than 1% of our account value. Okay, that's less than 1%. So we've got another 5 minutes left on this 15-minute opening range. That's less than 1%. And the target, right? All right, so look, $1,000, risk 1,000 to make 1,000. We've got to be careful here. Maybe we tighten this up, right? Maybe we tighten this up and we take it right there. That's 490. You see how you have to think, guys, in terms of risk management. We'll wait for the opening range to form. The only reason why I'm not jumping the gun here is because we're inside that demand zone, right? So that's the thought process here, right? We're inside a demand zone. We don't know when this thing's going to take off, but there's a little bit more of an edge for this to reverse and start heading to the upside. So look, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. In hindsight, it's like, oh man, I wish I got in right here at the breakout of the 5-minute opening range, right? Actually, that might have been a good idea. So make a mental note of that. When you're in this type of situation, it's like, let's, we've got momentum and trend working together. Let's take the breakout of the 5-minute opening range, just to mitigate risk, right? Just to mitigate risk. And we can always do that as well. We can put our entry point right here. What would that cost us if we did that? That's about 800, right? But it's kind of safer, isn't it? That's a little bit safer because we're outside the opening range, but will it come back that far? We don't know. Maybe not. But this is now 795 risk to make 2,000. That's a much better risk to reward. So you see what you have to do here. You got to get into it. You got to look around. Where can I position myself to have the best asymmetrical leverage? Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. The opening range is right here. As of right now, that's what it looks like it's going to be. Good morning, Kazi. Good to see you, buddy. We're in a bit of a situation here, right? So, it would be nice to pull back right now and get into this, right? Be nice to pull back right now, hit this area, but this is where we broke through. This is where we broke through that candle there. What do we got? Yeah, one more minute left on this. One more minute left on this. Ay, ay, ay. We have to take the breakout. We've got to take the breakout. That's going to form. I don't know if that's going to come back. This is an expensive deal. This is an expensive deal. Oh boy. Ay, ay, ay. This is an expensive deal. It's not allowing me. All right. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Really? Oh, that sucks, man. There was a lot of slippage there, man. There was a lot of slippage. Okay, I'm going to put this right above this candle here. There's a lot of slippage on that move, man. There's a lot of slippage on that. Nice breakout. We've got to, 3 minutes left. We've got to break through, close below that opening range. Son of a B. Good thing I placed the trade, man. Nice. It's moving pretty fast. It's moving pretty fast. That's a real shitty fill right there, man. I don't know how that happened. That gave me a real shitty fill, but that's the deal. Definitely want to hit that. I'm definitely front running that ADR checkpoint there, guys. Definitely want to front run that ADR checkpoint. Nice move. 670. Come on. Trend and momentum working together. Let's go. 720. I want to make sure I get that huge breakout on the 5-minute candle there. Huge breakout on the 5-minute candle. Come on. Oh, man. Come on. Come on. Oh, my God. 5 seconds. That's a huge candle. Unbelievable. Come on, son of a bitch. Look at how close that friggin' thing came. Going right above that candle. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Go right above that candle. I can't give back that profit. I've got to hit that 5,000. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Got to hit that $5,000 mark today. Trend and momentum working together. Trend and momentum working together. Damn it. Well, should have took that 600. Come on. Make that move down. Whoop. It's getting crazy over here. We're knocking down microphones. Pretty frustrating. But it was the right move, right? So you see, it was the right move. We didn't want to risk $1,000. We positioned ourselves properly, and it came down and just barely hit our target there. It is what it is. It's kind of painful, to experience this, but what are you going to do? Nice, Kazi. Nice completion. Excellent. Good job, buddy. As long as you guys are making money and being consistent, that's all that matters. That is all that matters. I'm really excited for you guys about the prop trading account and moving forward in whatever prop trading firm that you guys are in. I'm going to record the whole thing. I'm going to record the entire process for Top Step. Come on, let's make a move down. Let's make that move down. So the question is, do we take the retest here? Damn it. Missed out on $600. I think we still made, yes, hit the $5,000 profit margin. Okay. We hit the $5,000 profit margin, but man, I cannot believe how it missed that ADR checkpoint. We're pretty deep in this demand zone now, and and now it's moving up. Man, it's like another $500, man, would have been nice, but that was the move. So now we have to see, where does this go? We're deep inside that demand zone now. And that is a 1-hour demand zone. I probably I don't have it in me to take another shot at this. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are you guys thinking about this? This is a tough decision, right? I think it was the right move at the right time, but I think that's it. I think that's it. If we were what's that? Go ahead. Oh, I thought somebody was saying something. Yeah, I think because if this was above that 1 hour demand zone. If this was above that 1 hour demand zone, I would say, hey, let's take another shot at this, right? But we are inside a 1 hour demand zone, and oh, that was Matt, Matt sneezed on Mike. Oh, that's fine, Matt. That's totally fine. That's hilarious. So, yeah, can you put the trend cloud on? Okay, yeah, there we go. So there's the 5 minute. There's the trend cloud right there. Wow, look at that. So we got a nice trend cloud signal right at the 5 minute. I think that was probably the best in hindsight. Now, that looks like the best area, right? Pulls back into trend cloud, boom, rip to the downside inside a demand zone. And now we're pulling back into this area here. But, three, or this is the fifth wave down, and we should start to be seeing some blue candles here. If this is a really strong push down, it may not even retest. This candle will start to reverse and then hit that ADR checkpoint. But I didn't want to give back anything. But my goodness, what a nice move out. So I'm letting one major factor here, halt everything, and that's the high time frame, 1 hour. Look at that 1 hour right there. Drop, base, rally, whoosh. Right. This is let's bring it right down to there. Did it hit? It sure did. I mean, look at that. Look how close. You got to remember, it's a zone, right, guys? Previous week's close, first ADR checkpoint right there. And, one, two, this is the third wave down, fourth wave pulls back somewhere into trend cloud. There you go. Top of the hour. Top of the hour. There's your pivot candle so far. All of this is happening inside. This is an inside bar forming here. And look at that. We're starting right off the bat. We're starting that 10 o'clock candle. How far back does that thing go? We don't know. Right. So you've got to have enough insight here. Wouldn't take another chance on this already. Third wave down. Usually first two are the best. That's what Kazi is saying. 100%, dude. 100%. Right. Wave, the first wave down, very strong, pulls back. Second wave, the third wave, right? From 2 to 3 in Elliott wave, that the third wave is usually the longest leg of the move. And that's what we're seeing here, right? So, look at this. And here we go on the 1 hour. Let's drop back down to the 15. Didn't want it to completely reverse on us. If we'll go to the 5. Didn't want to. Oh, come on. What is this lag? A lot of lag here. Right. So this is the 5 minute. If I was up here, I didn't want to take the chance and keep that stop loss, like right here, like right above the 5 minute candle. We got in here, and from here to here, it was like whatever, $400 risk or something like that. Momentum and trend are working together, but that 1 hour demand zone, and it's kind of hovering. Look at those candles forming now, guys. Look at those doji candles starting to form. Will this be a drop-based drop, or will this turn out to be a drop-base rally, right? Drop, base, 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 rally, or drop, base, 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 drop. 2 minutes left on this candle. Got to think positively, right? I hit my goal, right? I wanted to make sure that I hit that 5,000 mark. Wanted to make sure I hit that $5,000 mark. This is week 2. We really have a great system. Yeah, man, it is. Yeah, it's almost the crystal ball in grandma's attic, right, Kazi? It's got like the nice red cloth and like the purple fringe, tie a headband around you every time you trade, like one of those gypsy red bandana things. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Kazi. Yep, it's you got to stay positive. Look, we're not, we're not computers, right? And even computers don't know what's going on, but we're partially correct. Look how close we came. My target was like right here, and it missed it by just a few ticks. You just never know. You just never know. And maybe later on today, maybe it pulls back deep into the opening range and then goes and hits that. You'll never know. There's too many variables, right? You can't drive yourself crazy with, all these different variables and how do I protect myself? How do I cover every single variable that could possibly take place? And you can't, right? And you can't. So that was kind of frustrating, kind of cursing there a little bit. That's okay. This is real, right? This is real time. You guys are tough. You can take a few PG-13 curse words. So unbelievable. Unbelievable. And here's, we're slowly coming back. Hopefully, well, we're not in this anymore. So that's going to be it for me on that. Only because we're in this demand zone that actually did a lot of buyers came in, right? Supply and demand is an imbalance between buyers and sellers. Support and resistance is more mass psychology, like looking at the TrendCloud, right, which is moving averages, or ADR checkpoint, right? That's another support and resistance component. But the actual supply and demand is an imbalance between buyers and sellers, right? So a lot of buyers coming in, and in order for this price to continue moving up, there can be no sellers, like zero. There has to be zero amount of selling going on in order for price to go up. That's really amazing. That's really amazing stuff. So why are we not taking another entry? Why are we not taking another shot at this to the downside? Well, because we've got this 1 hour demand zone, and it did a lot of upward selling, upward buying, right? It did a lot of upward buying. Take a look at it again. Drop base rally with this massive gap up, right? Why didn't you come down and hit that previous week's close, huh? It was right there, man. Why did you not hit that? How come you didn't hit the ADR? Then we would have made $1,000 instead of 230. What did we make? I cannot believe that. It gave us a shitty fill, right? And we only walked away with 5 on that trade, and we left it, Jesus, we left about more like $700 we left on the table there. Could have had $1,000 move, only walked away with 235. That's how it is. But you can see how I did that, right? We lowered that stop, we got risk free, and that initial move out. The initial move out of the opening range you really have to take at least one target off on that initial move, because you don't know if the retest is going to reverse, right? The strongest moves never retest. So you have to think about that as well. And that's what we try to find. And you usually get that. Now, if this was reversed, if this was an upward move, let's say all of our components were met to the upside, and we were this low on the curve, right? Wow. Those are the moves that you really want to give some latitude, right? You really want to let those moves run. Look at that. We're starting to pull back up. Let's just take a look at what's going on here. Go back to the 5-minute. Okay, so let's just see if we're going to get a retest. I want to see how deep this pulls back. We could get something like this, right? If this demand zone is holding, and this demand zone is what's going to push price all the way back up, it might look like this, right? We might make a higher low, and then boom, right there. There's your reversal pattern right there. Draw that out on a napkin when you're at work. Draw it in different directions. Put your mind through it, right? Draw out a demand zone on a piece of paper, and then draw that reversal pattern, and just shape it in your mind so that You see it when it starts to happen. Okay. Top Step will be closing at 12 p.m. Central for Juneteenth holiday. Oh, thanks for letting us know. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that, Kazi. Really looking forward. Oh, there we go. There we go. There's okay. So the look at how those 5 minute candles are turning blue. So we are officially in a 5 minute extended trend inside of a demand zone. Okay, so there you go. Perfect example of how TrendCloud is keeping you aware of extended trend and where you are on the map, right? This is a price action mapping system, guys. You've got to use it. You've got to use it. It's so helpful knowing, are we at the beginning of a trend, in the middle of a trend, or at the end of a trend? That is so important to have on your chart, because if you don't know, maybe you would have taken another shot at this, right? And more often than not, it will continue to the upside, right? So we still have momentum and trend working together for us across multiple time frames to the downside, but we're now extended on that 5 minute chart. And that means we could see a deep pullback above the 5 minute 50 simple moving average so that it recalculates, right? This is like a car driving miles and miles and miles down a highway. The trend is your highway. The trend cloud here is your highway. And the car is driving and driving. And these little blue lights, when that little blue light comes on, that is your gas light. That is your gas light. The car is running out of gas, right? And that's the scenario I like to use for extended trends. And then for the ADR checkpoint, I like to use the marathon runner, right? This marathon runner, which is called, his name is NASDAQ. And Mr. NASDAQ is a marathon runner, and he usually runs about this far on average, right? So he's just come up upon, his average daily range of running, and he usually slows down, goes sideways, takes a long rest, and maybe he goes home, maybe he continues on. But this is an excellent target. Okay, so those are the two scenarios that I like to use there. Well, that was a really good lesson, guys. That was a really good lesson in risk management. We did some on-the-spot risk management, right? We knew we didn't want to be all the way up here. We didn't want to risk 1,000 to make 1,000. We don't really like that. Trend and momentum were working together for us. So we said, okay, take the breakout, and we're only going to go from here to here. And that was a little over $1,000, right, target. And what did it do? It did exactly what we said it was going to do. It just came this close to hitting our target and decided to reverse. So we just missed it. It would have been a really great video and super exciting. And TrendCloud, and I would have looked like a real genius, right? They're like, oh my God, this guy, Chris Juliano, he just called a shot and it just happened. Well, sometimes that happens, but the majority of the time, we're usually partially correct, right? So that is the best that you can hope for. And when you're partially correct continuously, you're going to see some tremendous results. And that's what we're seeing here, That is what we're seeing here. What was the win ratio of TrendCloud signals? Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Those 2-to-1s. Those 2-to-1s were close to like 75% win rate, 76 or something like that. Actually, I remember back testing that the 2-to-1 moves were about 75, 76%. So you never know, right? So you want to be safe, you go for that 1.5, or you go for that 2-to-1. But yeah, yep. And then the actual breakout strategy itself, we're looking at about 70%, right? So 70% of the time when you have all those three components met, the breakout will continue to the downside. Now, we're throwing in a little bit of a roadblock, right? We knew that this was going to be a shorter move though, right? Didn't we? Well, I said that from like the very beginning, was like, look, The breakout is probably going to happen to the downside, but we've got to take a relatively short target. And oh, look at this ADR checkpoint right in the middle of our demand zone. And what did it do? It just missed it, right? So that's pretty darn good, right, guys? That's pretty darn good to be able to call that out and see it take place. That is the power of price action. That is the power of putting momentum and trend on your side in your strategy, no matter what strategy it is, right? Momentum and trend on the 3-hour and 1-hour chart. When you've got the 3-hour and 1-hour charts working together with momentum and trend on your side, no matter what strategy you put in place, you take the direction of that momentum and trend, right? In this case, it was the opening range that we used. You could be using TrendCloud signals, right? Like right here, that first TrendCloud signal worked beautifully. When this fired off, the TrendCloud signal would be this purple line right here where you would actually enter the trade. That would have given us a nice risk to reward. We used the 15-minute breakout of the opening range, and it did. It worked very nice, right? It worked beautifully for us. The plan worked. And that's what you have to do over and over and over again, right? So momentum and trend, very important when they're working together at the beginning of a trend, right? Right. When all of that is coming together at the beginning of a trend, you get these really nice moves. And then when the trend starts to become extended, you got to say, okay, that's it. It worked as far as it's going to work. It could go a little bit more, but now you're at the end of that bell curve, the extreme ends of the bell curve where you're going to get some sort of reaction, right? So I think that's what's going on here now. We're retesting the opening range. It's pulling back into that 5-minute trend cloud. Maybe it comes back and just taps it and then, continues down. Not really sure. But the main piece of this video today was to, manage the risk, right? I really liked how we managed the risk at the beginning of this move. We knew we didn't want to risk 1,000 to make 1,000. We were right. We were so close to that $5,000 profit mark, right? We wanted to make sure we had at least $5,000 in profits for this second week of the competition. And you're going to work the prop trading account the same exact way, and I'm going to do it the same exact way. Now on Top Step next month, I'll be going into the what people have been recommending to start with, and we're just going to do it the same exact way. We've got, I believe it's $1,000 profit that we have to make, right? And here we are in the, we made that in the first week, right? We made that in the first week. There's no reason why it should take longer than a week to pass the combine. 2 weeks, we're at 5, and we have a drawdown. I believe we cannot lose more than $2,000 in a day. Like, we would never do that anyway, right? So we're on Top Step. We're going to be looking at those 5 risks, right? We're going to be looking at $500 risks, and I think we're going to pass that combine. This is a great plan. This is a great plan to pass the combine and then, move on to whatever stages they put us through to become funded, right? It's going to be a lot of fun. Really going to enjoy that, and we will record that next month. Well, nice little shallow retest of the opening range, right? Nice little shallow retest of the opening range. And we'll see how this pans out, but we're just going to be observers, right? I think we should just observe the rest of this, and that's it. Not going to take another shot at this. The trend is extended. We're in this high time frame demand zone, and I think that's all she wrote today, guys. Good lesson today. I think I'll call it quits, and I'll start editing this video, and I will put it out to you. This was a good one, right? I'm not gonna repost all of the live sessions, only because, unless something really cool happens, that's why it's important to be here and to watch what's going on and stuff. But yeah, I don't think you guys want to watch every single recorded live session. That's kind of silly. But when something like this happens and there's a real lesson like to be learned, and it's a clear example then I will edit that video and post it out to you guys. So that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. You can watch this, see how it all works out, see how it pans out. I'll edit this video, post it out to you guys, and great session today. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.